Hi, what's up, guys? Happy Monday. Happy birthday to producer Jessica. Let's get some happy birthdays in the chat. We've got some in there already, I can see. Yeah, maybe you saw in the chat. I'm still coming down from that cold that I was just going into on the Friday speed quiz. Yeah, it's been a rough weekend. So if my voice isn't 100%, that's why. But we're gonna soldier on. So yeah, it's the birthday special. It's Jessica's birthday tomorrow, and we've got some birthday quiz with some Jessica themed rounds lined up. Let's take a look at those. So a nice cheesecake there for Jessica, and starting with general knowledge, we've got the dogs out representing on the general knowledge round cards. And round two, green fingers. So Jessica is a keen gardener. This is one of the window boxes we had in Bucharest. We have a bit more room to work with now. Then our next round, bookworm. Jessica's also a keen reader. Is Frank enjoying a book about dogs? Then round four, executive producer Jessica. Is Frank in the producer's chair? It's going to be an executive producer themed round. Then round five, quiz Wisconsibly. Jessica's home state is the theme for round five. Round six, wieners around the world. Jessica's love of wiener dogs is well documented. Here she is at the Currywurst Museum in Berlin. Round seven, hockey by the numbers. One of Jessica's favorite pastimes is to watch the Minnesota Wild thrill her in the regular season and disappoint her in the playoffs, or not watch them disappoint her in the playoffs, as her superstitions may dictate. This picture was taken when we attended the World Championships of Hockey in Denmark a few years ago. And round eight, another round of general knowledge. And there we can see mischievous producer Jessica hiding among the carrots. And thank you for the congratulations. Yes, I think that's a very good custom. I do deserve congratulations. So I think it's mostly going to be people who have already played before in tonight, but in case we do have any newbies, it is a free quiz, and that will attract some foot traffic. The way things work, you watch me. I will give you the questions on the stream, and you should also have gotten a link to the answer forms. So you answer on your phones or in another tab on another device. And at the end of each round, remember to hit that green submit button. So your answers aren't locked in until you hit submit. And yeah, so we need that to. So if there's a point later on, I was saying, oh, we're waiting on one team, just check it's not you that hasn't hit that green submit button. Any rounds that have pictures in, you might have to do a capture as well. Usually it's just a tick. I'm not a robot box, but yeah, we'll let you know when it comes to that if we have any picture rounds. But let's get started anyway. Let's get right into it because we're starting a bit late today. So first up, round one, general knowledge. All right. So Question one. Which of these was not one of the original M&M colors? Red, violet, green, or tan? Which of those was not an original M&M color? So from the original lineup, the original release of M&Ms. All right, question two. Which of these Shakespeare plays is not set in Italy? Is that Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Othello, or The Taming of the Shrew? So which one not set in Italy? Question three. Which country that no longer exists never won the European Championship? So that's the currently ongoing tournament. Spain just knocked out Croatia 5-3, I think, in extra time. I didn't see right till the end of extra time. But we've got 5 European countries that no longer exist. Which of them never won the contest? Was it Yugoslavia, the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, or West Germany? All right, question 4. What is the largest human-inhabited area on planet Earth with no rats? So the Isle of Man, Madagascar, Borneo, or Alberta, Canada? And our final question of the opening round. Which classic horror monster never appeared in the title of an Abbott and Costello Meet movie? Was that Dracula, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? So which one never appeared in the title of one of those movies? All right, so you've got 5 questions. They're all multiple choice. As I said before, your answers are not locked in until you hit that green submit button. So if your thumb's lingering over the button and you're like, actually, I've got second thoughts about question 2, you can go back and change it. But if you think you've got, your best guess, it's not worth second guessing yourself too much. You think you've got your best guesses in, hit submit, and we'll see how everyone has gotten off the mark or not. We occasionally get goose eggs in the first round. But we're covering a range of areas of potential knowledge here. So you can see the questions cycling on the screen there, because I think you've only got the answers visible on your input forms. So if you need reminding of any of the questions, just keep your eyes on the screen and it will cycle through. Congratulations to Les Habitants. Commiserations to the Wild, who went out early in the playoffs. Yes, Beans likes to sleep on her back and do the whole eyes rolled back in the head thing. Hope I don't sound too gross on stream. In my own headset, I think I sound really gross. All right, so get those guesses in, guys, and we will reveal the answers. Okay, not just me then. So anyone in a heat wave area? I know some heat waves have been striking around Europe and North America, but I'm not sure exactly who is within the boundaries of them. All right, so everyone's got their answers in. Let's reveal the answers. So tan was not one of the original M&M colors. Tan replaced violet after about 10 years after the release of M&M's. Violet was replaced with tan. Then uh, after then back in 1995, tan was replaced with blue. Red also had a break in production because the red dye they were using was deemed not to be food safe. So there was about a 10-year period of time where you couldn't get red M&Ms. So of the options there, green's the only one that has existed uninterrupted since the beginning of M&Ms. But yeah, tan was the one that was not one of the original colors. Then question two. A Midsummer Night's Dream is set in Greece. You know, four young Athenians go into the forest. All the others set in Italy. Yugoslavia never won the European Championship. I think they got to a final, never took the trophy though. And number four, Alberta, Canada. You know, intuitively you'd think it would be an island. Alberta claims they are rat free. How they do it with, you know, hundreds of miles of land border, mostly in the wilderness. I have no idea. And how they can say with confidence, I've got no idea. But this is what they say. They say it's the largest area on planet Earth with no rats, including Antarctica or the ocean. And Abbott and Costello, so Abbott and Costello did meet Dracula, but he never got in the title. Dracula featured in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That was the first movie in the series, and the big three of the classic Universal horror movies were featured. Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman all made an appearance in that movie. And then later on, they dug kind of deeper in the catalog. All right, so let's see the scoreboard after that first round. And there's ones across the board, pretty much. The Van Goghs, Pine Tree Inc., The Return of Shane, Frankenbeans, and F&B for Presidents, each getting one. I'd love it if each of you got a different one of the questions right. Cormax Enterprises not picking up any points there. So a tough first round. Well, let's see how people do on the Jessica-themed rounds. Okay, so round two. We've got green fingers. So Jessica likes to spend time tending to her vegetable patch. And we've assembled a selection of 9 green-fingered characters in a more literal sense. So depending on what device you're looking at it on, you might get a nice, neat and tidy 3x3 grid, or it might just be a list of pictures. There were 3 different correct answers on that first round, so not everyone got the same one correct. Okay, so we're going to give you hints. We've done rounds like this before with different, categories of character. So we give you hints. You have to choose the correct green-fingered character that is described by each clue. So first up, this green-fingered character wasn't originally green. In his original 1957 appearance, he appeared grayish, and he wasn't. And his distinctive green color wasn't added until a 1966 adaptation. So I was a little remiss in proofreading this week due to my illness. I will I'll ask your forgiveness. As long as there's no wrong answers, I think we're all good. So this green finger character wasn't originally green. In his original 1957 appearance, he appeared grayish, and his distinctive green color wasn't added until a 1966 adaptation. Number 2, this green-fingered character was originally set to be voiced by Chris Farley, before being recast following his untimely death. All right, the third clue, or the third hint. Number 3, this Jim Henson created green-fingered character shared a puppeteer with Big Bird. Then number 4. This green-fingered character takes her first name from the initials of her creator. And number 5, our last one. This green-fingered character originates from the planet of Zen Huberi. So there we go. Those are the 5 characters. So obviously that you've got 9 to choose from. So 4 of them are red herrings. So avoid the green, red herrings, and make sure you just get those green characters that are being described by the clues. And you can see those still cycling on the screen there. I had a real hard time cutting this down to 9. I usually like to throw in like one like real decoy for each clue. And because of the format of I like the 3x3 grid, but it does mean I usually have to try and come up with a triplet where there's one that could be a decoy for more than one. And that was kind of difficult to do this time around. But we'll see if that's reflected in the scores. We got any gardeners in? Anyone got room for gardening? If so, how are your crops coming along so far this year? We've got rabbits. Rabbits have been at the peppers. The dogs are no good. They're supposed to keep the rabbits out of the garden. And Frank has an excuse. He's old. But Beans can still run, but she's just a bit oblivious. She'll get within a body's length of a rabbit without noticing them. Well, I'm no good either. Oh, finally got a garden. What are you going to put in it? Oh, okay, that's pretty bad. That takes a lot of killing. Damn. Gotta have a bit of outdoor space. You can still have something on your windowsill. Maybe a little bit of thyme, basil, the basics. That's true. Yeah, we didn't have much space in that apartment and had some success growing tomatoes. Although I think that plant did end up getting knocked over at some point. Maybe I'm misremembering. Surely I didn't do that and not tell you. It's likely that I'm misremembering. That was like 5 years ago. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's a bit late in the season to get vegetables in, but nice just to have something growing around, isn't it? All right, get those answers in, guys, for your green-fingered characters, and we'll see who's going to separate themselves from the 1 point club. I think we're just waiting on one team. So this is one of the rounds where you're probably going to have to do a capture. After you do the capture, then you need to hit the submit button. So if that's you, just double check. But yeah, with the picture and because the input method is pictures, it might actually be a select select traffic lights or something type capture. So make sure you've got that done and you've hit the submit button. And everyone's in. So let's reveal the answers. Okay, so the Grinch. So he wasn't the only one who wasn't originally green. Hulk was also originally gray. Oscar was originally orange. Um, but the dates and the reason for the addition of color would identify that as the Grinch. So the original book was mostly in black and white. So they made him green for the TV adaptation in 1966. Yeah, that was Shrek. In fact, I think Chris Farley had maybe begun recording. If I'm not 100% sure on that, I know that they had to re-record the dialogue at least once because after Mike Myers took over, he recorded like the whole thing and then decided he wanted to give Shrek a Scottish accent, and they re-recorded it all. Yeah, so Jim Henson, you're pretty much choosing between Kermit and Oscar. And yeah, it's Oscar who shared a puppeteer with Big Bird. Carol Spinney was that puppeteer. Jim Henson himself was the puppeteer for Kermit. Then the green-fingered character who takes her names from the initials of her creator. So we know her as the Wicked Witch of the West mostly, but if you're a fan of Wicked, she was later on given the name Elphaba, as in L. Frank Baum, the author of the original books. And that's Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy comics and movies from the planet of Zen Huberi. So, how do people do on this one? Well, here comes the scoreboard now. And a much stronger round in general. Pine Tree Inc. especially getting a perfect round. That's now they're in the lead with a total of 6 points. China of Shane in second with 5. And then we've got a three-way tie for third place with 4 points each for the Van Goghs, Frankenbeans, and F&B for Presidents. Cormax Enterprises nipping at their heels there with 3 points. Was Kermit not an option? I knew I had to trim someone out. Maybe Yoda. I left Yoda in as the double thing. He's not actually a Jim Henson creation, but a lot of people think he is. Yeah, so someone had to get the chopping block at the last minute, and I guess it was Kermit. So there we go. Next round is Rip Kermit. He almost made it. So round 3 is Bookworm. Oh, there may be a scoring issue, so that we'll double check that. But anything just in case, that might have to wait until the intermission. We'll get started with Bookworm. So Jessica is a voracious reader. We've got 5 books about worms for you. Kind of got a broad definition of worm. Worm has a broad definition, and you're going to put them in order of the word count, so that from the shortest to the longest book. So first, let's see what the books are, or what the word counts are. Sorry. So those basically you're just going from shortest to longest, but those are the specific word counts if you're interested. So from a slim 224 words to a whopping 188,000. Let's see what our 5 wormy books are. Okay, there was just a scoring malfunction in that last round. So scores subject to change. Uh, we will be right on that. All right, so first up, we've got The Formation of Vegetable Mold Through the Action of Worms by Charles Darwin. So really, I think this round's going to be wait till all of them have been revealed and then decide what order they go in from shortest to longest. Next book we've got is Dune by Frank Herbert. Dune. I've become quite Americanized, dropping yachts all over the place. Dune, the movie's coming out soon by Frank Herbert, the sci-fi classic. Next up, we've got The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. And our next worm-related book, we're counting caterpillars as worms, The Long Bugs. Next up, Filth by Irvine Welsh. Book about violent, racist, misogynist cop, and kind of the voice of reason in the book, in the narrative, is a tapeworm living in his gut. That's Irvine Welsh, the author of Trainspotting. There, this is just a different novel of his. And our final wormy book, How to Eat Fried Worms by Thomas Rockwell, childhood classic. So you've got your 5 titles. Can you put them in order from shortest to longest by word counts? So each word count applies to only one book title. Be careful with these drop-down menus. Just make sure that it's actually selected what you meant to select. When I do the test runs, and I suspect it happens to you guys from time to time, you think you've selected one, but it's selected the one like above or below. You've got to be right on with your thumb work. So just double check once you've selected that it selected the one you wanted. Because we sometimes get people doubling up on answers, and I think that's why. Oh yeah, in preparation for the movie. How are you finding it? How's the prose? Have you got to the worms yet? Is that a video game? I didn't even know there were video games based on it. I'm learning about a whole new world. And you can see the titles of the books cycling through there, although I think they are on your answer form. Third attempt in the last 10 years. You're really selling it to me. I do have some friends who swear to me the merits of reading Dune. And, maybe I'll give it a go one of these days. And then you get to read the rest of the Dune series. Oh, okay, cool. That sounds like a fun game. Why don't you guess? Why don't you get us started off there, Liz? Favorite books. I don't know what my favorite book would be. It's kind of a big question. It's like saying, like, what's your favorite song? There's a lot to weigh against other things. Well, everyone's answers are in, so let's reveal what the word counts are. So first up, There was a problem with questions one and two were the problem in the previous round. So scores are subject to change. So uh, yeah, they have been adjusted. So when we see the scoreboard next, there may be some shuffling. I think just it seems like I guess everyone was automatically awarded the points for questions one and two. Lord of the Rings, if we're talking about books that are a slog, but a lot of people, you know, have a, I mean, I have a lot of appreciation for the Lord of the Rings in terms of its cultural impact. So the the formation of vegetable mold through the action of worms, sitting there in the middle, 61,000 words. You know, how much is there really to say on the matter? You're not going to get a long novel, a long book out of it. Dune, famously long, famously a tome, 188,000, the longest book there. Then next up we had The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Of course, it's a picture book, also very famous, kind of pioneered the kind of more childish art style that is now kind of you just associate automatically with children's books, but it was the first book to really do that. And that's a total of 224 pages. Not pages, words. No, that would be a bit long for a book about a caterpillar eating food. Um, then Filth by Irvine Welsh, just kind of in that 400-page novel range of 110,000 words. And finally, uh, it's a children's book, 14,066 according to the source I found online, about 14,000 words for How to Eat Fried Worms, kind of like a mini novel for kids. Yeah, Jessica has a clear-cut favorite book, Frankenstein. The only book I've ever read cover to cover is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Um, Eric Carle was actually pretty upset with uh, some tinkering from the publishers. Some he just wanted it to be a celebration of just hedonism, doing what you want, and then the publishers insisted that the Very Hungry Caterpillar get a tummy ache. They show that there are consequences for just doing what you want all the time. But Eric Carle's original vision, he was very upset about having to include that. Okay, well, another. This is we did a run through, and I didn't notice anything weird with the answer form, but I guess that's why you do two run throughs. Um, but we will see how that goes. At least one quizzer reporting some weirdness with the answer form, so we'll see. I've been ill. It's Jessica's birthday. But we'll double check everything. Don't worry. But it does seem like as of now, it's a similar situation to last time, high scoring all around. And Pine Tree Inc. holding on to the lead there, 10 points. Okay, yeah, so a few people have lost a point after the review of round two. But the return of Shane in second place with 8, the Van Goghs and F&B for presidents. Tied in third with 7 points. Then Frankenbeans on 5, Cornmax on 4. We will double check that answer form. That is a common problem I find with answer forms. So let's move on to the last round of this half, and we'll just have a little look see during the intermission. But it seems like this one scored correctly. And our 4 points in round two. Yeah, we'll double check round two. It's still being adjusted. All right, so round four. Here we go. It is executive producer Jessica. So Jessica puts a lot of work into producing these each week or every other week during the summer. But there are lots of other people who fill the executive producer role in other productions. We're going to show you some executive producer credits, screenshots of executive producer credits. You have to tell us what movie or TV show they're from. So I'm just going to tell you now, there's 4 movies, 1 TV show in this lineup, and I'll tell you which one is the TV show. So you're going to see the screenshot and type in the title of the movie or TV show. Simple enough. Let's see the first one. So yes, it's that Steven Mnuchin, the Trump guy, executive producer Steven Mnuchin. So maybe you heard about him producing movies when he was in the news. Maybe you can tell just from the aesthetic. But yeah, what movie is that? So I think the bigger clue here is the general graphic design. But maybe you heard about this because he was in the news a lot. In 2018, 2019, 2020. All right, our next one. Executive producer Dick Wolf. This one's the TV show. This is probably one of the most famous executive producer cards in media. But can you remember what TV show it's associated with? It's kind of like meme level at this point. All right, next one. Executive producers Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks. How nice for them. What a lovely couple. But what movie is that? This one, you have the benefit of seeing some of the stars of the movie. All right, next one. This one's probably, I would say, the hardest one. Executive producers, well, I don't know who Danny and Hiram Garcia are, but we know who Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is. So look at the aesthetic, what is being drawn. Do you know any franchises maybe that Dwayne Johnson might be associated with? And try to work out what movie this could be. But this is definitely the toughest one, I would say. And the 5th and final executive producer credit. Executive producers Emma Stone, Jared LaBeouf, Michelle Wright, and Glenn Close. I'd say I'd think particularly closely about Emma Stone and Glenn Close for figuring out what movie this is. So those are our 5 executive producer credits. Can you name the 4 movies and 1 TV show that they are executive producers of? But while you're thinking of that and typing your answers in, we're going to take a little intermission, and we're going to have a double check. We're going to double check the scoring for those rounds. Yes, so I think everything has been double checked actually with round 2. So that should all be correct. When we next see the scoreboard, everything should be fully caught up and up to date. And I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes after the intermission. All right, and we are back. So, if you're still typing, get your guesses in and submit, and hopefully Arspot will be able to interpret them. He's pretty good, but they will be double checked. Obviously, he can't really understand typos, but we're not going to dock you a point for a simple typo. But yeah, have your guesses in. We were able to kind of deduce most of them. I think number four was maybe kind of cruel with its trickiness. Um, but it turns out that a lot of executive producer credits are just plain text on a black screen. Okay, and the scoreboard agrees. I think most people struggled with number four. Yeah, I had the idea. Sometimes you have the idea for the round before knowing if you're going to have enough material for the round. All right, so here we go. Everyone's got their answers in. Let's see what they were. Oh, we just got to switch over to the second slideshow. And that'll be with us in a second. The link's in the thing, Jessica. Yeah. All right, so here we go. First up, that was Suicide Squad that Stephen Mnuchin was the executive producer of. Then after that, we saw Dun Dun, Law and Order, executive producer Dick Wolf. Then our third one was Mamma Mia. I mean, we can see Meryl Streep there. So that's a bit of a hint. She's clearly all glammed up and doing a bit of singing. So that one's definitely a workoutable one. Nice one, Tom and Rita. And that was Shazam. Dwayne Johnson is signed on to play Shazam villain Black Adam in a spin-off or sequel or something that's coming soon. He's a lifelong fan of the character. And yeah, it's kind of comic booky end credits. But yeah, that was a tough one. Did anyone see that movie? It's a good movie. It's probably the best DC movie that's come out. And then the last one, Emma Stone and Glenn Close have both played Cruella de Vil. So yeah, it's the recent Disney Cruella reboot was the movie there. So currently in movie theaters. Not a plug. I think it's also probably on Disney Plus. I think everything's being simul released these days, isn't it? Okay, let's check the scoreboard. So everything should be double checked now, and Shane pulls ahead. 13 points to Pine Tree Inc.'s 12. It's still very close. The Van Goghs and F&B for Presidents still neck and neck. Law and Order SVU will have counted. Yeah, Arspot was just looking for the words law and order. Um, yeah, so the Van Goghs and F&B for Presidents still locked in Mortal Kombat. 9 points each. Cormax on 6. Frankenbeans, rough rounds there, falling to last place with 5 points. All right. Oh, and the trivia police are on the phone. Well, they've taken a while to catch up to us this week. And let's have a look at round 5. Quiz Wisconsibly. I feel like Frankenbeans might make a bit of a comeback on this round. All of the questions are about the state of Wisconsin. So let's test your Wisconsin knowledge. Question 1. In his appearance in Wayne's World, Alice Cooper mentions that which Wisconsin city is the only city in America to have elected 3 socialist mayors? Is that Madison, Milwaukee, or Green Bay? So if you remember Alice Cooper's cameo in Wayne's World. Can you remember this little tidbit? All right, our second Wisconsin question. How many Great Lakes does Wisconsin have shores upon? All right, question 3. What is the state animal of Wisconsin? Is it a badger, a cow, or a dachshund? All right. Question 4. Lake Geneva, Wisconsin is famously the site where Gary Gygax created which tabletop game? I'm having a bit of an SNL movie themed quiz by accident. And finally, question 5. In which of the big 4 professional sports leagues is Wisconsin not represented? Is it the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, or the NHL? So 5 questions, mixed input. Some of them are multiple choice. Some of them you got to type in the answer. They're all testing your knowledge about the state of Wisconsin, where we are currently located. That picture on the round graphic was taken not far from here, just on a nice evening walk a couple of months ago. Probably about 3 or 4 minutes from where we are right now. All right. So yeah, we can scroll through the questions again. Yes, we've got Midwesterners on some teams, Canadians on the others, on other teams, which is basically the same thing. Well, we're not gonna get into that rivalry. Excuse me. I think probably quite a lot of our teams have some kind of Midwest connection to help them out here. All right, so it looks like everyone's got their answers in. Let's reveal the answers. Milwaukee. I I didn't actually fact check the fact. I just fact checked that this is what Alice Cooper says in Wayne's World. He says that Milwaukee is the only city in America to have elected 3 socialist mayors. Then number 2, Wisconsin has shores on 2 Great Lakes. Eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that the background is a map of Wisconsin, so it's kind of hard to make out, but you probably could have seen the 2 shores there, one to the east and one to the north. The badger is the state animal of Wisconsin. So Wisconsin has kind of gone overboard. Well, a lot of US states have with like adding a lot of addendums to that. So the state bird is the robin, the state domestic animal is the cow, the state wildlife animal is the white-tailed deer. But yeah, the unadulterated state animal and like symbol of the state is the American badger. Yes, I need to stay up to date on my Wisconsin state symbols. Then we've got question 4. Dungeons and Dragons. So Gary Gygax, I think, was born in some Chicago suburb, but moved to Lake Geneva as a young boy and has lived there most of his life. And that's where he created Dungeons and Dragons. And finally, it's the NHL that is not represented. So in the NBA, there's the Milwaukee Bucks. In the MLB, there is the Milwaukee Brewers. And in the NFL, there's the Green Bay Packers. Boo, hiss. We don't like them on this stream. But there's no NHL team based in Wisconsin. A little tidbit for you. So the NFL, National Football League, and the NBA, National Basketball Association, the nation referred to is America, but the NHL, despite being primarily American teams, the nation referred to in national is in fact Canada. I was reading a little bit about the history of the NHL, and yeah, it started. There was a bunch of little regional leagues all over. Tiny little 4 or 5 team leagues, and the original NHL that kind of emerged from the fray of there being tons of competing leagues started in Canada, purely Canadian teams. Okie doke, let's have a look at the scoreboard. And it's pretty close at the top there. Those top three, the return of Shane with 16, Pine Tree Inc. with 15, and the Van Goghs with 14. And then we've got a little drop off there for the other three, F&B for Presidents with 10, and Cormax and Frank and Beans tied on 8. So we've got two main packs there. But with 3 rounds left to go, everyone is still in it. So the formation of the American sports leagues is something I find quite interesting. Pretty much the case in all of them is that there were lots of competing leagues that gradually outcompeted or absorbed one another. And the exception is baseball, where you just got 2 leagues, and they still are 2 leagues, but they're one organization, but neither of them has really relented to being absorbed by the others. So you've got 2 leagues that still play with slightly different rules and are part of one organization. I find it very interesting. Okay, so next up, wieners around the world. We see our beloved producer there in Berlin's Currywurst Museum, sitting on probably the single item of furniture she most wants to own, the Wiener couch. Her love of Wiener dogs and Wiener iconography in general is well known. But let's have a look at some of the wieners or sausages of the world. We're going to show you 5 sausages and give you a brief description. You need to guess what country each one is from. So, first up, this guy here. These sausages are made of fish paste and are eaten cold as a snack. They're commonly sold in convenience stores and come in flavors including crab, barbecue, and cheese. So, is this sausage from Finland, Cuba, or South Korea? All right, let's see our second sausage. All right, so these sausages are stuffed with coarse ground pork and pork intestines. The odor has been likened to both urine and feces. And are those from France, China, or the USA? Okay, number 3. This curried pork sausage is traditionally served with rice as a snack or starter. It's from India, Vietnam, or Jamaica. All right, let's see our fourth sausage. This spicy fermented sausage is made using trimmings and meat from the pig's head, resulting in a soft, spreadable texture. Is it from Mexico, Italy, or Germany? And our fifth and final sausage. These tiny round sausages are made of beef and pork. They're traditionally boiled in strings and sold as street foods, and are often garnished with lime juice. Are they from Colombia, Thailand, or Serbia? So we've got 5 types of sausage there, and you just need to choose which country each of them originates from. Some of them tastier than others, I should imagine. Yeah, there's the sausage is it's a flexible form. You can do a lot with it. Basically anything ground and made long can be described as a sausage, especially if it's inside a casing. Um, I I would say really to be a sausage it should be in a casing, but you see skinless sausages. I'd say they're more like meatballs if they don't have a skin or an Adana kebab. Oh, here we go. Here's a little bonus picture. Oh, take away the little ticker so we can see. There we go. It's childhood wiener Oscar there in the hot dog costume. And that's producer Jessica dressed as ketchup. How cute is that? Yes, a long history of wieners. But yeah, each of these, it's multiple choice. Sometimes it can be tricky, There are some flavors that are associated with multiple parts of the world, or certain ingredients that are associated with multiple different cuisines. So, like, which way do you go? And of course, it's Wiener grilling season here. I think we are off for the 4th of July. We won't be doing a 4th of July quiz, but maybe we should do some kind of backyard barbecue themed return when we're back in a couple of weeks. It will still be well and truly the season. Okay, I think we're just waiting on 2 teams now. So if that's you, get your guesses in. How many of these sausages have you eaten? I think I've had 2 of them, maybe. One of them being sausage, the South Korean fish sausage, very, very finely ground, like reconstituted fish, basically, with various flavorings added. Yes, it's called sausage. It's a loan word, of course. Like one of the main brands is like Bong, such as like flavor Bong. There's Mr. Bong is the default. Then you get cheese Bong, barbecue Bong. Okay, then we have and andouillettes. Or they're all fish, but then they have other flavorings added. I think I've had the cheese one. Fish and cheese, not a great combo. I mean, I'm not as there are ways to combine fish and cheese. I'm not going to get very like Italian food orthodoxy about combining fish and cheese. But in a sausage, not a great combo. Uh, yeah, the andouillette, my pronunciation probably off there, is a French concoction. Then Sai Wa, I haven't had this, but sounds amazing. Just a sausage with like curry seasonings in it. Sounds delicious. What could you do better there? And then we've got Nduya. This featured actually in Friday's speed quiz in the sausage round. Yeah, well, sausage question. Yeah, it's from Italy. Shares a root with andouille and andouette and andouillette and the andouille that's eaten in like Cajun and Creole cuisine in America. All those sausages share a linguistic root. And butufara, there are a bunch of sausages in different countries called butufara, but these ones that are like a string of, let's say, rosary beads from Colombia. So let's see how people scored on this sausage round. How well do you know your wieners? Let's have a look. And kind of scores all over the place there. And the return of Shane kind of cementing first place there at 20 points. The Van Goghs moving up into second with 17. Pine Tree Inc. Only 1 point there, so 16 points, so dropping back a little. F&B for Presidents climbing 14 points there, putting themselves into the conversation as we enter the final two rounds. Then Cormax and Frankenbeans hanging back with 10 points each. So our penultimate round is hockey by the numbers. So the Stanley Cup begins tonight. Yeah, the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know, Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens making their first appearance in the series since 1993, ending the longest Stanley Cup appearance drought in their existence. And so well done, Habs. I know we have a Habs fan in tonight. So we got a few numbers here that will be the answers to little trivia questions about the game of hockey. And it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're all low number answers close together. You're going to have to use, there's not going to be any big outliers for you to focus on, but they're all definitely still gettable. So let's have a look at the first one. Players on the ice for a hockey team. So how many players does a hockey team have on the ice at any one time? Then number two, the number of periods in a game of hockey. Question three. Since 1939, the fewest number of games possible in a Stanley Cup final. And number four, minutes for a major penalty. And finally, number five, the number of current NHL teams based in Canada. So we've already mentioned one of them tonight. So we know the answer is at least one. Well, you know the answer is at least three because that's the lowest number you have to choose from. So you've got your numbers, you've got your clues. This is one of those ones where you can start with the ones that you know for sure, and then kind of process of elimination. Like, that seems like probably not going to be that high or not going to be that low, and eliminate them that way. I think even hockey novices can probably logic their way to getting a few points on this round. But apart from our Canadian quizzer, we got any hockey fans? Is uh is Kelsey a Red Wings fan or not really that fussed? It is, as we've mentioned, Jessica's favorite sport to watch. I've been making making an effort to get more into it, but it's all very fast paced for me, hard to follow. Okay, yes, we have. So we've got a Habs fan and a Red Wings fan in. Oh, this is just the round for you. Could be the round to close the gap on the return of Shane. I'm not good at this. So currently the Euros are on. So every couple of years when there's a big international tournaments, I'll make an effort with football as well. Um, and just the kind of like continuous play is not good for my ADHD brain. You know, American football and baseball, they're like, we're going to do a bit of sport now. And then they do it, and it takes about 5 seconds. And then they're like, okay, we're going to get set up again. We'll let you know when we're going to do another bit of sport in a few seconds. That works well for the way my brain is wired. I find that very entertaining. But this like free-form jazz approach to sport, I find difficult to follow. But I will say, found it more enjoyable watching in person. When the in the atmosphere of a live sporting event, it's easier to get into. All right, so here we go. Everyone's got their answers in. There are 6 players on a hockey team, including the goaltender. There are three 20-minute periods in a game of hockey. Uh, so since 1939, the Stanley Cup has been a best of 7 series. So the fewest number of games possible for a team to win in is 4. Uh, so a minor penalty is 2 minutes, a major is 5 minutes. And there are 7 teams based in Canada. So that is from west to east, Vancouver Canucks, the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames, the Winnipeg Jets, Toronto Maple Leafs, the Ottawa Senators, and the aforementioned Montreal Canadiens. So yeah, it's a best of 7 series, which means it's first to 4. The fewest possible number of games would be so a 4-0 sweep is the fewest number of games that could happen in a Stanley Cup. All right, so let's see how people did there. And oh, it's close. 1 point in it going into the final round. In fact, 2 points separating the top 4 teams. F&B for Presidents has really brought themselves right back into the thick of it. So the return of Shane still holding on to a narrow 1 point lead there over the Van Goghs with 20. Then Pine Tree Inc. and F&B for Presidents tied in third place with 19. That's very tight there. Then Corn Max has separated themselves from Frankenbeans with 12 points to Frankenbeans' 11. And we're going into our final round of general knowledge. Is there a Jessica related tiebreaker question? I don't think we have one, but we could probably come up with one. Because it does seem like a tiebreaker might be necessary, and I don't know if we have any tiebreaker prepared. So here we have our mischievous producer hiding among the carrots, and it's time for our final 5 questions of the evening. So it's another round of general knowledge. Question 1. The recently deceased John McAfee is survived by how many children, according to his own estimates? Is that 8, 19, 31, or 47? So that's the antivirus guy. Maybe you are aware of his antics, maybe not. All right, number 2. Which of these plant-based hot drinks does not naturally contain caffeine? Is that cocoa, yerba mate, rooibos tea, or cassia tea? Which of those does not naturally contain caffeine? Okay, number 3. What is the only place wild penguins can be found north of the equator? Is it the Amazon River Delta, the Galapagos Islands, Kiribati, or Cabo Verde? So which of those is the only place wild penguins can be found north of the equator? All right, question 4. What was the first video made prior to the creation of YouTube to reach 1 billion views on the platform? Is that Keyboard Cat, Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley, November Rain by Guns N' Roses, or the Numa Numa dance to the song Dragostea Dinte? So Gary Brolsma doing the dance and the song originally by Ozone. So all of those videos were originally filmed, recorded. Yeah, the mate. Uh, were all recorded, all filmed originally uh, before the creation of YouTube and subsequently uploaded to the platform. Which of them was the first video made prior to the creation of YouTube to reach 1 billion views? Let's reach 1 billion views on one video on YouTube. And bonus extra Wisconsin question. What spirit is used in a Wisconsin Old Fashioned? Is it Scotch, bourbon, rum, or brandy? So there we go. A little bit of extra Wisconsin in there right at the end. So it's very close. Our top 4 teams all extremely close together, 2 points of each other. So a tiebreak is certainly not out of the question. Jessica has informed me, she's in my ear, and we do have a tiebreak ready to go. She did not reveal whether it's a Jessica themed tiebreak, but there is a tiebreak ready to go. It's on standby just in case. All right. Okay. There we go. Apparently it is it's all thematic. Jessica's on top of it today. One last happy birthday. Happy birthday for tomorrow, Jessica. Happy birthday. I'm imagining you're all saying it out loud wherever you are, all across the world. I will say for ice hockey in Europe, it's worth going to the World Hockey Championships to check them out. We went only once while we were living in Europe, but it was a great experience. It was really fun. It wasn't too expensive. It was a good excuse to go and see Denmark, where they were hosted at the time, but they are usually hosted in Europe, I think. So there is North American and Asian participation in the contest, but usually hosted in Europe. So recommend. You're not seeing the level of hockey you might see in the NHL, but it's still fun. We saw a couple of games. We saw Norway Denmark, which was an exciting close fought match, and then we saw America South Korea, which was an absolute blowout. But respect to respect to the Korean fans. They had the drum section there cheering the whole time. They were loving it. Uh, Korea got like one consolation goal in the third period. They were down like 9 or 10-0, and they got their consolation goal. And the Korean drum section just were going mental. They loved it. Fair play to them. All right, and I think everyone's got their answers in. So let's see what the answers were, first of all. So there's a couple of references, a couple of references to him saying this. He tweeted it once. He said it in an interview. He reckons he's got 47 children. He claims to have relationships with all of them. He says that he might have fewer children if DNA testing was more common when he was younger, which I don't know how to interpret that statement. But there you go. 47 children. He was an awful creep, really disgusting man. Rooibos or Red Bush tea has no caffeine in. All the others do. Cacao even contains a little bit of caffeine. So if you're drinking like hot chocolate, it's got nowhere near what coffee does, but does have a little bit of caffeine in it. Then the Galapagos Islands, the only place north says most of the Galapagos Islands are south of the equator. There's one that just the tip of the island goes north, and that includes part of the range of the Galapagos penguin. So there's a few members of a little subsection of a single population of penguins that occasionally goes north of the equator there. Number 4, November Rain by Guns N' Roses. Who would have thought? It was the first video recorded before the creation of YouTube to break 1 billion views on the platform. I would have guessed Rick Astley. And brandy. Brandy is the spirit used in a Wisconsin old fashioned. So old fashions can be made with any dark liquor, really, but typically they're made with a whiskey, whether that be Scotch or bourbon or rye whiskey. But in Wisconsin, brandy is the order of the day, with a like huge slice of orange and a glacé cherry. So let's see the scoreboard. Let's see if we're going to have to go to the tie break. Oh, I think it's going to be a close one. I don't think there was a lot that really favored anyone in that round of questions, and indeed it didn't. 2 points for most of our top contenders. So that means no separation there, and that means the return of Shane, the triumphant return of Shane, we can say, with a 1-point victory, 23 points to the Van Goghs 22. F&B for Presidents with 21, and Pine Tree Inc. with 20. A nice dunk, 1 point all the way down. Cormax with 15, so they pulled decently ahead of Frankenbeans there at the end, who finished with 12. But congratulations to Shane on his return. 23 points there for the victory. Well done to our other podium finishers there. So congratulations to the Van Goghs finishing in second place. Thank you for coming, guys. It's been a lot of fun as always. Feeling a little bit under, a little bit under the weather today, but we got through it. And yeah, thank you for coming and giving us a very special birthday for Jessica. And we'll see you for our next Think Fast speed quiz, which will be not this Thursday, but next Thursday. So we'll see you next Thursday for a speed quiz. All right. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.
He's a tough man, gonna show you what it feels. He's a strong man, tell him what you need. He's a strong man, he can't do anything. When you need help, he becomes something real. He's a tough man. Tell him now, tell him what you need.
I will never fail again. After all I've been through, after all I've made it through. Oh, you can trust every word I say, every word I say. I'm gonna keep my head up high, and you can see in my eyes so much darkness I can fight. Oh, I won't forget what I have faced. I won't forget what I have faced.
He's a tough man, gonna show you what it feels. He's a strong man, tell him what you need. He's a strong man, he can't do anything. When you need help, he becomes something real. He's a tough man. Tell him now, tell him what you need. He's a tough man, gonna show you what it feels. He's a strong man, tell him what you need. He's a strong man, he can't do anything. When you need help, he becomes something real. He's a tough man.
So much more than I can teach.
Tell him now, tell him what you need.
Don't be afraid, Next time you see me, I'm gonna make you mine. Whatever you may face again, oh, your strength will flow.